In this day and age, being caught up in the news is a social norm, and an important one at that. Whether that's you're making sure you're watching the news, reading articles, or keeping yourself informed through reliable sources of information.
What's more prominent now than ever is the involvement of youth in politics. With that being said, just because youth involvement is at an all-time high does not mean that it's enough.
The prominent age gap in voting, youth involvement in political and social movements, and the connection between the older and younger generations are all important tools to building the future we will soon live in. It's not new that there's always been a low turnout for youth voters.
In the past 3.5 decades, youth voting rates has fallen by more than 30%. For example, in the 2016 presidential election, only about 43% of all 18 to 29-year-olds in the United States turned out to vote compared to 66% of all 45 to 59-year-olds.
I remember being a college student, and I was very engaged on my college campus in organizing the vote and registering students to vote. But time and time again, there was this feeling that my vote doesn't count.
Youth voters are not often given the same opportunities, and it's much harder for us to become engaged in the political system, given the difficulty of registering to vote and the fact that politicians often aren't really listening to youth, so youth don't really have as much of an incentive to participate in politics because of that.
Historically, young people do vote in less numbers than older people, so they get sort of discluded from the campaigning tactics.
So in politics right now, there's a lot of short-term payoff, right? What can I do now that benefits me, in the next year? What can I, do to make myself more comfortable or people like me more comfortable? So when young people don't vote, our future, because we know we're probably going to be alive in 50 years and we need to be looking out for that, and that consideration isn't really accounted for.
And there are many factors that play into that, but unfortunately there's still some misconceptions on why younger citizens don't participate in politics.
When I'm in the high schools and I'm talking to high school students, I ask them, why are you the least voting age group? And they go, well, we don't care.
Young people care so much, most of them at least.
We just don't see anybody running to represent us. Nobody is really going into very young and newer communities and trying to see what they want out of an elected official.
With the Electoral College, a lot of people feel like no matter how they vote, it's not going to influence the outcome of the election.
There is an intentional effort we have to make in just educating young people and all voters the process of voting. It's not like we're teaching the basics of voting in our schools. And if we emphasized it at a younger age and make sure every student at age 16 was pre-registered, I know we would see more young people ready to vote and more young people actually voting.
Despite the age gap in voting, our generation is more involved in social and political movements now more than ever before.
This is thanks to the use of social media to advocate and stimulate change.
Social media is really a double-edged sword, and I say that as someone whose entire job has changed as a result of it.
We have seen things like Black Lives Matter as a movement that has engaged younger people who want to relate to an issue of national importance.
Our generation, Gen Z, has shown so much activism and interest in politics as compared to other generations. Grassroots organizations and national campaigns. We've seen March for Our Lives take off after the Parkland shooting. That was so effective in getting new gun laws in place and new legislation introduced. I think the younger generation, despite not being able to vote, has really made an impact on our political climate.
The flip side is there's just a lot of crap that goes out on social media, and I don't think we as a society are quick enough to ask questions about whether the information we're getting is accurate.
You see a lot of hashtags, share this post, stuff like that, but ultimately that means nothing. You may be winning other young people, but young people aren't in power. I think you actually have to organize and you actually have to get out and hold a protest.
Social media can have quite a negative impact in terms of the polarization of politics, because it's very easy to find yourself stuck into an echo chamber of just people who agree with you, because algorithms are intended to show you things you will like.
For the president and new Congress, here's what we want you to consider.
Listen to us.
Listen to us.
Just listen to us.
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 Right now, the older generation definitely plays a large role in determining the generation of the future and what their lives look like.
The older generation is making these decisions for young people. So to the older generations, I would really hope that they take the time to think about how their political decisions and voting decisions affect us.
Career politicians who are running for office aren't going to reach out to the young people until suddenly the young people are voting.
It's that short-term gratification, not only for us, but for people in office. They want the votes that are going to get them elected right now, and maybe not the ones in the future.
I think it is extremely important for political figures to connect with younger generations.
I think what we're trying to do is reach everybody where they are. Everybody gets their information via a lot of different platforms. I think that's what we're trying to figure out, is how to meet them and how to meet them in a lot of different places.
We, along with many other young people, are exercising our right to assembly to make our voices heard.
With the prominent age gap in voting, the influence of social and political movements, and the severed ties between the older and the younger generation, there's only so much we can do to make a significant difference.
You will be assembling the very world we live in, and together with these building blocks, we can work together to build towards our future.